Right. Welcome in, everybody. Hello. On behalf of Orientation and Transition Programs, I would like to welcome you to our Transfer Wednesday webinars. These webinars are designed to help you prepare for your arrival at UVA. Be sure to tune in throughout the summer to learn more about these resources and programs available to you before you get to grad. A couple of reminders before we get started. Lots of details are coming to you through your new student portal, so make sure you're staying on top of your tasks so that you're all ready for the fall. You can access your new student portal from our website, orientation.virginia.edu. Also, make sure you're checking your UVA email regularly. We are communicating directly with our students, so it's important that box for important messaging. It is essential that you really take ownership of your college experience during this time. The TTCs during our drop-in hours. You can talk to Grace from 1 to 2 p.m. on Mondays and me, Ava May, from 10 to 11 a.m. on Wednesdays. The links for those meetings are posted on the Instagram as well as attached in the bi-weekly newsletters. That being said, our office is happy to hear from students if you have any questions. Email the orientation@virginia.edu email and we will guide you to the answers you're looking for. Two quick reminders before we get started. Recordings of this webinar will be posted to the website, orientation.virginia.edu, in the next week and will remain there till the end of the summer in case you missed our past webinars or you missed anything you hear here today. And if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A or in the chat during the webinar for our presenters to answer. So without further ado, I'm happy to introduce today's presentation on getting started in undergraduate research. The Office of Citizen Scholar Development is here with us today to talk about all that they provide for students during the school year. If you have any questions for their team, please utilize the chat and Q&A to ask them questions. And so Office of Citizen Scholar Development, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Ava May. My name is Andres Ashu, and I oversee the Office of Citizen Scholar Development, which is home to fellowships and undergraduate research at the University of Virginia. And I'm joined today by Jennifer Schnelly, who's the Assistant Director for Undergraduate Research in our office. And we're happy to welcome you to our session, Getting Started in Undergraduate Research. Before we jump into the main content, I just wanted to introduce you a little bit to our office in particular and what it is we do when it comes to talking about undergraduate research. So the first thing, understanding what undergraduate research and creative inquiry is. It seems obvious, but the reality is there are as many different ways of doing research at the University of Virginia as there are faculty. And so when we say research, that can mean lots of different things. And what you may have in your minds about what is research may be different from how we think about it here, or the many different ways that we think about it. And to that end, I just want to say that we're here to help you pursue those opportunities to participate in undergraduate research and creative inquiry. Talking about pursuit is important because our office does not itself provide undergraduate research experiences. We only support them. What's important to know about that is that research is driven by faculty at the university. And so our job is to help complement the work that's being done by faculty across the university and help partner you to that work and connect you to that work and help you understand it so that you can get involved. Okay. That third bullet point there about seeking wise counsel and healthy mentoring relationships is really important because we often have those stories, and you probably see them on LinkedIn, about the person who has spoken truth into every area of my life. They're the reason I found a job and got married and have kids and have a little picket fence around my house. And I'm not saying those stories don't exist. They clearly do, but they're more the exception than the rule to mentor-mentee relationships. We want to make sure that we're helping to equip you to be excellent mentees and seek out mentors. The most successful mentor-mentee relationships are driven by the mentee asking specific questions and specific of the right people. Sometimes also being lucky enough for it to be the right time for you to hear the wisdom that you get from them, okay? All of this is really culminating in helping to equip you with skills and approaches to drive your own development and growth. We like to talk about most things in our office as optional. They are great opportunities and they can be life changing for you. But they're not all necessary. And some of them are competitive or hard to pursue or get involved with, or maybe the timing's wrong and you end up, you only have so much time, so you do other things. We're completely supportive of that. What we do want to do, though, is in any interaction with you, contribute to your growth and development. And so we hope that's going to happen with this session. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Schnelly here.
Thanks, Andres. So the session we're going to give you guys today is basically an overview of how to get started in undergraduate research. So we're going to point you towards some specific strategies that will help you do that. But in the beginning, as this first bullet point says, we like to sort of establish a shared ground for what do we mean when we say undergraduate research and creative inquiry. So I'm going to start us off with some true-false questions. Obviously, you can't answer me. But these questions are designed to primarily get you guys thinking about undergraduate research and how it happens here at the university. So to start, faculty expect me to be an expert before I do research or creative inquiry with them. So I'm just going to pause and let you guys think. Is this a true statement or a false statement? So this one's false. Faculty recognize that you guys are coming in with the background that you have, right? So you're undergraduate students, you're not experts in a field. The faculty themselves are the experts in the field, and that is why they're serving as the mentor in the undergraduate research experience. Research is done at a variety of levels, and so that means that students who are getting involved may need a certain level of knowledge in order to participate, but there's not an expectation that you are an expert before you begin undergraduate research. All right, the next one. I need to have a lot of time to do research or creative inquiry. True or false? All right, so in the office, we like to say it depends a lot. And so this one's a bit of a trick question. Now, this is a both situation. So it's true in that you have to make time. You have to dedicate time. We encourage students to develop regular schedules and make sure that they are contributing as much as they committed to their undergraduate research experience. We also encourage you guys to be realistic of how much time you actually have to commit. You're a full-time student first and foremost. So that means that's your full-time job. So having clear discussions and clear expectations of what time you have to commit outside of that full-time job is a really important part of this process. And faculty will have different needs and different levels of expectations for how much time they expect you to commit. And so having that conversation early is really important. All right, the next one. Research done in my classes is the same as I would perform in an undergraduate research or creative inquiry project. So this one's particularly important as we're talking about what we mean when we say research. All right, so this one is false, and this gets to kind of the core of what research, the function of research is. So research in a course is specifically designed to help you understand a concept that we already know about, right? So there's clear guidelines, structure to demonstrate concepts and help you develop your understanding of something we know. True research and creative inquiry is designed to discover something new entirely or expand what we already know. So you're kind of forging ahead into the unknown. And so it is inherently different to the research that you've done or may do in your coursework, but they complement each other really nicely. And I'll talk more about that later. All right, true or false? There is a right time to get involved with undergraduate research or apply for related opportunities. And I think time may be something that as transfer students, you might be feeling particularly pressed on. So I'll speak to this one a little bit more. All right, so this one is false. So as we've kind of discussed a little bit, there is a certain level of skill or knowledge that may be required to participate in undergraduate research, and that will vary depending on the individual faculty member, their needs, the discipline, et cetera, a whole variety of factors. That said, it's never too early to start looking for and exploring opportunities. So I'm glad you guys are here with us today to start thinking about what exactly is involved with that and what it looks like and what it is that you're excited about. That said, also be reasonable. It's not something that you are expected to do immediately. You're transferring to a new school. take time, get your feet under you, and figure out what the best path forward is. You kind of do this don't look before you leave situation. So worth noting, there are deadlines just like anything else. So we say there's not a right time, but depending on what you're applying for or what you're trying to get involved with, there may actually be deadlines that you need to be aware of. And so I'll give you some specific examples and talk more about just general flow of the research cycle and process as we go. Okay, so to the crux of it, we kind of danced around it a little bit. So when we say undergraduate research and creative inquiry, we mean a specific definition. This is not the only definition. In fact, various definitions are used depending on where you're participating in research. For the purposes of this seminar and interactions with our office, this is the definition that we use. So it has two parts. I'll read it first and then I'll talk about the two parts. A mentored investigation or creative inquiry conducted by undergraduates that seeks to make a scholarly or artistic contribution to knowledge. All right, we've made it easy for you. The two parts are in bold orange. So part one, it's very important that you guys have a mentor. We've talked about the fact that research is a really big scholarly or artistic contribution. You're trying to discover something new. So the mentor is what helps you navigate that process and is the bridge between what you know, what you don't know, what you need to learn in order to participate. Okay. All right, so keep this definition in mind as we move forward with the presentation. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is what does this actually look like? So we like to teach this as a simplified process. We recognize that the process looks different depending on the discipline. And so since we're not talking to a specific discipline, we often try to give a broad overview of the steps of research. So here are the steps. We start with a general understanding. And so this is that component where you have to figure out, what do I know? What do I not know? What do I need to learn in order to understand and participate in undergraduate research? There's a broad or a very specific pathway and amount of knowledge to getting from where you are to where you need to be in participating in research. And the faculty mentor will help you navigate that. So this is a lot of potentially reading, and having a conversation with your mentor and whoever else is working with you on the research. The next stage, once you've kind of developed an understanding of the project, is figuring out, okay, what are the questions that we're trying to answer? And I like to approach these as gaps. So what are the gaps in our understanding? And what are my curiosities? And then what are the questions that I'm trying to answer? The next step kind of fills right in here, methods. And so we use this term to describe anything that's done to answer your research questions. And so this can be really, really broad. And I'll talk about some specific examples of this on my next slide. But I imagine most of you have immediately conjured this image of a lab table with pipettes and microscopes. And that is definitely one option. Once you have collected data, right, or information to help you answer your question, you have to take it and kind of condense it down into kind of trends or particular answers to your question. And this is what we call analysis. And then the last stage is arguably the most important, is taking what you've learned and communicating it to the broader research community. And this is how we contribute to and add to our understanding and our knowledge in particular areas. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some things that you might do when you get involved with research. And this is just a sampling, but I want to start with reading, which is right there in the middle, because every single one of you will do some reading. You're going to have to do that in order to build your general understanding to be able to participate. So this can be lit reviews, you can be digging through archives, you can be reading published journal entries, things like that. You're also going to be doing any of these other things, and it depends on what kind of research you're getting involved with. So you might be interviewing or surveying participants. You might be in the nitty gritty doing programming, web design, stuff like that. You might actually be at the wet lab doing bench work with microscopes, pipettes, and such. This all really depends on what it is that you're excited about and the type of research that you choose to pursue. All right. Um, I just want to revisit this now that we've talked about some specifics of what it looks like. And I want to encourage you to think about, okay, there are these different phases. And I like to think of the research process as kind of like a moving conveyor belt. It often doesn't go as clearly or as smoothly as you think it should. And I like to think of you guys as jumping onto that conveyor belt, right? So faculty may be in different stages of this. When you get involved with a project, they may already know what question they're trying to answer, and they're trying to figure out how to best go about answering it. And they might try one thing and then realize that doesn't work. And so they have to go back to the drawing board and try something else. And so research has a lot of this like problem solving component to it, and a lot of trial and error and failure. And it never goes according to this really simple diagram that we've drawn up here. So I want you guys to keep that in mind as we move forward. And I'm going to complicate a little bit your understanding of research and what it looks like and where it can take place. All right, so this is the context we've been talking about, and the one that I think most people think about when they think about undergraduate research at a university. Okay, so this research takes place with a faculty mentor, or with someone who's working with a faculty mentor, a graduate student, someone who's a postdoc who's expanding their education and understanding in a field. These people will serve as your mentor. These research experiences can happen in groups, or they can happen in a one-on-one mentor-mentee situation. And we said this a lot, again, in our office, it's an it depends situation. So all of these variations do exist at the university. As a participant in undergraduate research, you have potential options for how you participate. You can volunteer your time. You could potentially get paid, or you could pursue research for credit in your department. And so not all of these options are available every single time. It's often determined by the faculty member themselves and what resources or situations they have available to them. And this is something that would need to be discussed and communicated with a potential mentor before you begin doing research. And it's worth sitting down and thinking about which one fits your situation best. So do you really need academic credit? Would you really benefit from that? Would you really benefit from being paid? Or are you just willing to learn and happy to volunteer your time and work to find the fit that way? All right. So I'm going to broaden now. So we're in the top left, and I want to talk about some other contexts in which you might participate in undergraduate research. So I'm going to go top right first. So you could do a research fellowship. And so this is a research experience that's external to UVA that you apply to and receive. And so these are sometimes more structured and often limited in term. And so you might apply to go do summer research somewhere abroad, somewhere else in the country at a different institution. These can also happen after you graduate. And they, like it says here, regularly require you to travel to other institutions. So two examples that I have here, one of them is very broad and one is a specific program to which you can apply. REU in general is a term that's used to describe usually summer experiences, but not necessarily. So it stands for Research Experiences for Undergrads. And it's exactly what it sounds like. There's a variety of REUs that take place at institutions across the country and abroad, and you can apply to them. And if you receive it, you go and you do research at that location. DAAD Rise is one such example that takes place abroad in Germany. You actually don't need to know German to go and participate. They speak a lot of English over there, and research is done primarily in English. So don't let that intimidate you. And there are other REUs that are similar to this one, to which you could apply and pursue. Outside of fellowships, I'm moving bottom left here. You could pursue a professional internship. So research doesn't only happen at institutions of higher education. It also happens in companies and other organizations. So if you've ever heard of research and development happening in a company, that's research in the name. So this is research outside of higher ed or academia, And so you get to see, if you go and do a professional internship, what that looks like, because it is a little bit different. Inherently, they're still trying to discover something new, but oftentimes they're working towards a specific goal or trying to solve a specific issue that they've been funded to pursue. So I'll give you an example. Luna Innovations is a local company here in Charlottesville, and they often get grants from the DoD, Department of Defense, to uh, pursue specific research projects. So say the military is, oh, I'm trying to test non-lethal weapons. Can you guys make us a substitute skin to test this? And that's like one of the projects that they do. So obviously that's very STEMmy. I'll give you another example. So the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts will bring in interns to help their researchers in pursuing and building exhibits, sourcing and researching those art exhibits in the museum as well. So that's also a really great opportunity. If you're really curious about this field and you want to learn more about what it's like, it's an opportunity to meet professionals that are out in the workforce and network with them as well. The last one I want to talk about today is student organizations, and we have many of these at the university. One thing I really want to stress is that when you're informally pursuing research, please make sure that you still have a faculty mentor involved. I hope we've established at this point that research is a huge undertaking, and having that mentorship is a huge and important component of a successful quality research experience. So I'll give you two examples of student organizations here at the university. So Solar Car, which is structured around a competition. It's an engineering group that tries to build and push the design of solar powered cars, and they will take them and they'll compete against other universities. Be Well is a completely different organization. It's a student group that works with faculty to collect and contribute to a large database, honeybee distributions around Charlottesville. And then take that giant pool of data and they try to research honeybee populations, trends, things like that over time. So these are just some samplings. I can't list all the different opportunities that are available in each of these contexts, but we find it very valuable to sort of push the understanding of where research can take place. And so one thing I want to urge you to do is think about which of these is most appealing to you and why, as we continue to move forward through the presentation. One thing I like to take a pause and talk about is why the heck should I participate in undergraduate research? Obviously, you're interested in it or you wouldn't be here, but I just want to bring up some key things that students have learned and how they've grown and developed through their participation in undergraduate research. So these are some testimonials. I've bolded the important piece in each one, so I'm not going to read each of them to you. But students have repeatedly told us that participating in undergraduate research helps make course content that can feel abstract actually really concrete for them, because they can see this course content in action and see the application of it. Students also tell us that they gain experiences they didn't expect, right? So they learn how to present because they often have opportunities to present their research either within their research group, or they might attend fairs or symposia where they make a poster or do a PowerPoint presentation to share and update the research community on their work that they're doing. This obviously also includes a Q&A component. So they learn how to answer a lot of questions and share their research with a variety of audiences. And then beyond that, skills specific to the work that they're doing, but also being able to analyze and engage with academic writing. Beyond the hard skills and soft skills, I still don't love these terms. However, people do find that they grow in ways they don't expect. So perseverance and resilience, critical thinking, patience, attention to detail. All of these things are necessary and very important in research. And students find that they're pushed and grow in a lot of unexpected ways as they sort of grapple with and problem solve in undergraduate research. They also learn how to work independently because they're doing this work outside of their coursework, manage their time, and then handle setbacks, because as we talked about, research very rarely follows that really nice streamlined process. And there's often resets, setbacks, and they have to start over and sort of tackle a problem in a new way. So it requires problem solving, creative thinking, but also, a little bit of determination to keep up and keep trying to tackle the problem again. All right, and the last one, it's very practical. We like to think of undergraduate research as a clarifying experience, and we try to steer students towards clarifying experiences a lot in our office. We find that if we participate in a new experience and we think about, do we like it? Do we not like it? Did it help me discover something that I didn't know I was interested in? It can help direct your plans either through undergrad or even after you graduate. So clarifying experiences, especially if you take the time to think about and reflect as you're participating, can be really valuable. All right. The last section of this, we've established what exactly is research? What does it look like? So how do we go about actually getting involved? So I want to give you, it's not very fancy, but a little bit of independent exploration is probably the best place to start. So there's a lot of really great resources online. I'm going to just give you some examples. So one strategy I like to recommend to students, both because it helps them figure out what research is being done here at the university and what resources are available to them. It also helps them figure out what they're excited about. Because when you say, oh, I'm excited to do research in biology, like that can be so many different things. And so you don't really know what that looks like until you sit down and read through and experience or expose yourself to what's being done here at UVA right now. So I encourage students to go to faculty pages. So every department has a website that looks like this. They have somewhat often it can be hidden, but you're looking for the people tab and then the faculty tab. And every single faculty member at the university has their own page. So we're going to look at Amanda Gibson. So they'll have a different collection of information on them, but most often you'll find a short description of their research interests, and you'll find these things called representative publications. So I bring these two things up specifically because this research interest blurb is obviously a very short summary of the work that they do. It's designed to be consumable by the average reader, so you don't necessarily need any in-depth understanding or super technical knowledge. So it's a really great way to get a brief introduction to what the work is. Representative publications, these are papers that they've submitted and published. And this can be a good place to start if you're interested after reading this research interest blurb to develop a better understanding of the work that they do. So we always encourage students to read some of the papers that faculty have produced to get a better feel for the kinds of projects and the kinds of work that they do. The other thing you can look at, a lot of times faculty will have their own research website, and the website can, not always, have a lot of helpful information as far as if you want to reach out and work with them, how do you go about doing that? What are the current projects they're working on? Who is in their lab? You can actually just see if they tend to bring on undergraduates because sometimes they'll be listed on the research website. That said, this is, I would say, the gold standard. Some research websites just aren't as helpful, and you kind of have to go and click through the faculty pages to see what's there and what's not. But I like to raise this because sometimes students don't appreciate the wealth of information that's at their fingertips. All right, beyond faculty pages and reading about the research they're doing from the source, department websites will also have resources available to their students. So you can go and see, here are some available lab positions. There's a spreadsheet that you can click here and faculty can go and populate it when they're looking for undergraduates to come work with them. And there's also just general tips. We ourselves have a getting started page. This one is from the college. There's one on the engineering page. So you can go and you can read what resources are published for students to view. And so I would encourage you guys to go and get a feel for what's available to you here at the university as well. Okay, additional strategies for finding an opportunity. Beyond published resources on the internet, you can go talk to people. There are a lot of people at the university who are involved in research. Your academic advisor is a really good place to start. They're going to be entrenched in the discipline you're excited about. They'll be able to tell you who's who, point you towards people who might be doing research in a field you're really excited about. A research librarian is another really good option. So these are folks that live in the library, not literally, bear with me. They are housed in the library and they basically work with people who are doing research to help them find resources they need, connect with other libraries and bring in materials, et cetera. So they're a really good resource. And they're obviously going to know who's doing research in what field and potentially be a connection for you. And they can also help you if you're looking for things to read to develop your understanding of the material yourself, can point you towards good resources. Obviously, you're being taught by faculty. Not all faculty at the university do research, most do. Um, so talking with a professor who teaches a class that you're really enjoying is also a really great place to start. Similarly, TAs are often graduate students who are here participating in doing research and pursuing PhDs or advanced degrees, and they're also a great resource if you're interested in research. Okay, back to the online land. We on our website have an awards database. And so you can come to our website and look and kind of sort through various fellowships, undergraduate research opportunities that are available to you. It is not an exhaustive list, so please don't expect it to be, but it can be a really good place to kind of get a feel for what things are available. Similarly, you can go to the Google yourself and you can find REUs that are available and you can go and apply to them. We also, and we're not the only ones, there are various research events around grounds to which you can show up and you can attend. I'll just point you to one example for now. I'll raise another one later. Our office puts on an event called the UVA Research Showcase. It's going to be November 6th this year, and it's designed to be an exploratory forum for undergraduates to come and meet and engage with faculty and learn about their research. Faculty can either table, so they'll have a table where they can have posters, various props, artifacts from their research, and they hang out and they talk to students, kind of like a career fair feel. You can wander around and introduce yourself to all different faculty and hear from them about their research. The other avenue at this event is we call them fireside chats. So faculty can sign up to sort of just talk with students informally for 20 minutes. We set them up in front of it's literally in front of a fireplace, and we give you guys comfy chairs and you sit and you just hang out and they'll tell you about your work and you can ask or about their work and you can ask them questions. So highly encourage you all to come and attend this event. No preparation required. Great way to meet faculty and get a feel for the research being done here. You can also look online at places like Handshake and LinkedIn to see internship postings and such. One thing I want to strongly encourage you to do is a lot of this can be overwhelming, and throughout this process, we'd encourage you guys to stop and think about, okay, I want to remind myself, what am I excited about? What do I have time for? When is it reasonable for me to do these things? And take a second to reflect before you take any action. The last thing you want to do is send out like 20 emails to faculty and then realize you actually weren't interested in any of it. All right, speaking of emails to faculty, we're going to give you just some professional communication advice. So when you get to the point where you're ready to reach out about either learning more or pursuing a specific research opportunity, here's our suggestions for you. So content, start with an introduction. Also, this is not a text message, so make sure your introduction includes a proper salutation. Professor so-and-so, introduce yourself, make it clear why you're contacting them. And then we encourage you guys, this is where this reading the papers of the faculty is important. Why are you interested in working with them? Okay. And this isn't, we're not telling you to prove you're an expert. Remember, no one's expecting you to be an expert, but sharing why you're excited, why you're interested, and why you're reaching out to them specifically. Ultimately, faculty are all just big nerds, right? They want to work with people who are excited about the thing they want to nerd out about. And so if you share that excitement, that is powerful. So sharing your interest with them in the email is really important. Make sure you're setting clear goals and intentions, right? Saying, I'd love to get involved in research with you. I'm hoping to start in the fall, things like that. But make sure you give them an out. So this is probably one of the most important pieces of advice we'll give you for professional communication. When you're reaching out to someone and making an ask of them, if they can't fulfill that ask, it feels bad. So faculty, You might be really excited about working with them, and they might go, oh man, this student's so cool. I just don't have the time. I just don't have the money. I'm in a weird spot with my project. So I just can't do anything about this now. So give them another way to be helpful to you. Ask them for reading you can do to learn more about their work because you're just that excited about it. Ask them if they know anybody else who's doing research in that field. Ask them if they know about opportunities that you could pursue, events, things like that. So give them a way to be helpful to you, even if they do have to turn you down because of various circumstances. That said, one thing students get a lot is reach back out to me in August, reach back out to me in November. This is not them just like pushing you off. Research happens all the time and it uh, goes through various stages. They may be starting a new project in November, and that's when they have the bandwidth to try to bring you in. They may know somebody's graduating and they're going to want to bring you in and on board. They may be in the middle of writing this massive grant proposal and they just don't have the bandwidth to think about what it would look like if you came and worked with them. So they are legitimately trying to be helpful when they say, reach back out to me in X amount of time. So if you are really excited about it, do follow up because the ball's in your court. The last thing, this should all be obvious in my opinion, except for maybe the follow-up piece. So proper punctuation, titles, full names. Make sure you thank them for their time. But the other thing, the third bullet point here that I want to really emphasize, faculty are extremely busy. I'm sure you guys already have your inboxes blown up with emails. They're 100 times worse. So if you send them an email, your email is going to start at the top and then they're going to get 20 more emails and your email is going to get pushed down to the bottom. So they may miss it. They may not get to it. It doesn't, if they're not responding to you, it doesn't mean they don't want to talk to you. It doesn't mean they're not interested. It probably just means your email got buried. So the most helpful thing you can do is move your email back up in their inbox. So go find the email you sent them, respond to it, don't start a new thread, and just follow up. It doesn't have to be lengthy, just something like, hey, I'm still really excited about this. I know you're really busy. Do you have time to talk, etc. Okay. And faculty across the board have told me 1 to 2 weeks, super helpful. It's really helpful when anybody does this. So when I'm emailing faculty, I do this. And they say, oh, thank you so much for the reminder. Okay. So you are really being helpful. That said, we're not encouraging you to nag faculty, right? So if you send them an email and you follow up in a week, probably don't do that like 3 or 4 more times, right? Maybe just leave well enough alone. Maybe the following semester, you can send them another email if you're still really excited about it. So you can take this too far, but definitely initial email and then follow up in a week or two if you don't hear back. Okay. So once you get into, okay, I've found an opportunity, I'm excited about it. All right, how do we get some funding for these things if that's important to you? So in our office, top 4 bullet points here, we have internal research awards. All of these research awards require you, well, I'm going to walk that back. You have to have a mentor. The Harrison, the Arts, and the Keenan, you have to already be working with somebody. The Double Who Award, you can apply to work with a graduate student on a project that they're seeking help with. All of these happen over the summer, and all of them have deadlines in the spring semester, February or March. So you can check our website for more information on them and for how to apply. Beyond our department or office, there are other grants available to you. Departments themselves have research funding that you can pursue. Just 2 examples here. In the college, they have small as in like the name of the person who funded it, not the size of the award, research and travel grants. And you can go and you can apply, and those will help fund research. The Dean's Engineering Summer Research Fellowship is another option for those of you who are in engineering. Beyond that, there are various honor societies at UVA. You don't always have to be a member to seek out their research funding. So make sure you read the fine print there. You can apply to a lot of these, even if you're not a member. And then the last one, there are conference grants available if you are going to and presenting at a research conference. You can apply to help get funding for the travel expenses. And so this is not the only one, but this is one example is the EARN conference grant. Okay, I'm going to turn it back over to my colleague, Andres Ashu, to discuss fellowships.
Yeah, so one of the things we're talking about regarding undergraduate research is those things that are external to the University of Virginia, and it happens to correspond with the other part of our office. And so what overarchingly I just want you to be aware of is that there are a lot of different opportunities. You'll notice down toward the middle of the screen, it says much of the support of these types of opportunities that we call fellowships um, can be logistical or social. So there could be cohort-based groups. It could be about putting things together, but it can include study. Research is one of those things, travel, internships, entrepreneurial endeavors, or other professional placement. There's lots of different opportunities to contribute to your development. And undergraduate research is one of them that corresponds here. I just want to make sure we define what we mean when we say fellowships. We're talking about an umbrella term that is anything that's nationally or internationally competitive. So really external to UVA, that UVA students or alumni can pursue that contributes to their development. And we know that because they're competitive, people get really nervous and are like, why would I do that? And we want to tell you two things. One, we genuinely think there's a fellowship for everyone, and y'all are way harder on yourselves than we are. And two, um, we try to build a process of engaging with these opportunities and pursuing them such that the worst case scenario is that you will grow. You'll develop, you'll have a better sense of what you want to do and good next steps for the things you want to pursue. Um, the awards database we've already mentioned, it's a great resource for you to start playing around. The Fellowships in Undergraduate Research series is our like primary outreach outlet. And every Monday at 4 o'clock in the Rotunda Multipurpose Room, we're doing information sessions or workshops, etc. So next slide. The next steps, we want to encourage you, cultivate your curiosity and interest. That's, I mean, big qualities of a researcher start with curiosity, and the courage to ask the questions, right? So you can attend events. There are lectures and different presentations going on at universities all over the place. If you're transferring from another, four-year institution, you probably have had experience with that. If this is your first four-year institution, it can be overwhelming with how much you could learn. But the one thing I really hate is when I hear that a student never takes advantage of the random lecture or random talk or guest speaker. So go to those things, go to presentations, take advantage of office hours with your faculty. Because there's lots of areas to learn and to grow. We have one of those sessions during the Fellowships Undergraduate Research Series is called the Exploring Opportunities at UVA and Beyond workshop. When that schedule gets finalized for the fall, you'll actually get an email from the transfer student folks letting you know about it, but it'll also be posted. We would love for you to come to one of those. We do it multiple times a semester. Just a re-encouragement to take advantage of the research showcase this fall. Come to, or maybe even you be ready to present at the Undergraduate Research Symposium next spring. And then continue to explore on your own. We are not telling you these things because we don't want to help you, but we do want to equip you and encourage you to do some of the work that you can and should do for yourselves, You don't have to wait for someone. You don't have to have us holding your hand as you navigate some faculty pages and read some interesting research that they've done. So continue to play around and then, yeah, maybe pursue an opportunity. So that's what we have for you today. We really wanted to, wet your whistle, help you understand what undergraduate research is and how to go about it. And we're happy to take questions if there are any. I would personally prefer if you use the Q&A setup. It's easier to manage on this side of the webinar. But yeah, any questions you have, I'll give you my two sort of caveats. One, your questions are generally not as personal as you think they are, and you can ask them anonymously anyway. But two, they're also almost always helpful for other people in the room. And this is a great time. You have our undivided attention, so ask away. I'll give you my other caveat when I'm on Zoom, but I do it when we're in person too. We are happy to take questions as long as you have them. But in Zoom, there's no choice. But even if we were in person, I would say, but if we say, okay, thanks, and we start cleaning up, we're not going to stick around and wait for you to individually line up for your meetings. On Zoom, of course, you just get the Irish goodbye. So we're going to disappear if you don't ask them. All right. We have a question that's come in. Are most grants regarding travel and research due in the summer, or are there exceptions? So I'm glad you asked this because I want to make sure that you know that you're asking a question about when are these grants due, not when are they for. There are lots of these travel and research grants that are due in months of like October or November, December, or January for a lot of our internal research grants, February. So they can be due at a lot of different times. Some of the latest maybe travel grants for summer research would be due maybe into like mid-April, but that's like the latest, I think. So in terms of deadlines, they can be a lot earlier than the summer. And so we are always encouraging students to think further ahead about summer plans than seems reasonable. I don't want to scare you. You do not need to think about next summer's plans right now. You do not need to stress over it in the next 2 months. But if you haven't started thinking about it by the end of October, you might start to feel a little urgency and change that. If you have it strongly considered and know what you might be applying to or asking about by the time you get to winter break, that's a must do because when you return, you may be late for a lot of things. You may have missed out on some great opportunities. And so not to stress you out, but it's generally earlier than you think. Oh, there's another question. Are there any caveats or restrictions when it comes to research being used as credits? Um, yes. And what you need to understand about research for credit, for class credit, is individual departments dictate what qualifies or what can be used, or even if they have research for credit in their department. Okay. And so the the easiest way to answer your question is say yes, they are. What they are is going to depend. It's going to depend on what you're doing, at what level, with whom. Sometimes there are some departments that allow you to do research in their general field, but maybe with a faculty member who's not in the department. There are some who only allow you to do research with faculty members in the department. So it really depends, and that's something to be asking about early on. All right. Going once, going twice. I think I'll turn it back over to the team. Thank you for having us.
Great. I'd like to thank the Office of Citizen Scholarship Development again for your time. And as a reminder, this recording will be posted to our Wednesday webinar page in case you need to refer to it later. Don't forget to check your emails for our bi-weekly transfer-specific newsletter and follow the Instagram, which is @UVA Transfers, to stay in the loop.